Sir William Seal.
Mr. Speaker, I had difficulty accepting that Mr. Simpson was genuine in the argument that he put forward, because I don't really think that he believes what he was saying. Because he will have heard from the submitters in the committee, how seriously flawed this bill is. And that at the beginning, sir, it was the intention of the Labour Party, like all the other opposition parties, I suspect, we were looking with much expectation at the introduction of this bill. We supported it to the Select Committee because we actually believed that there was going to be some genuine work done in terms of this government reporting and highlighting the standards of where our environment is. But sadly, sir, despite the evidence presented by significant individuals and organisations to the government members, they have gone ahead and continue with the bill as present in a flawed state. And I wonder, sir, whether the government members who will support this bill at second reading can, in 10 years' time or 20 years' time, come back to the House and tell us what the state of our riverways will be, what the state of our environment will be. Because if we adopt this bill, sir, it will do very little, if any. In fact, what this bill does, it enables the Minister of the government to play politics with how the environment situation is to be reported. So I think sometimes, because we live in a much bigger country than most of the Pacific, that we have difficulty understanding how real the environmental issues are. But I think if members were to travel outside of our country and visited some of the Pacific Islands, they will see that there are real environmental issues, climate change issues that our region is facing. And the reason why I, along with my colleagues, were looking with high expectations about this bill is that if this bill is to be adopted and we get a standard measure of reporting on how our environment exists currently, then we'll be able to set a standard which we could measure as the years go by. Unfortunately, sir, the bill is contrary to what we heard in that Select Committee in terms of best practice. It is best practice, sir, that rather than a minister control what topics, what issues are to be reported on, that it should be independently reported on. That scientists should also be involved in the choosing of topics and how that are to be reported to this House. And unfortunately, see, that is not the case. And I have to say that despite what the previous speaker said about our clean, green image, is that really what we're trying to protect here, sir? Because it doesn't sound it. Because it doesn't sound like we're talking about the protection of the environment. It sounds more like trying to cover up the harm that we will cause to the environment for the sake of economic development. And I don't believe, sir, I don't believe 1 minute whatever that what we are adopting in this bill is going to enhance and protect and ensure the safety of our environment, not only for the present population, but for future populations. You know, we've often said, sir.
I ask the member to sit, and I'm going to ask the clerk to the table to ring the bells. There's not a minister. I'm sorry, I apologise. Seal William Seal.
So,
yeah, I don't think. Yeah, it's all right. No, I apologise. I didn't anticipate the minister crossing over there. There is a New Zealand First sort of relationship with that, a Tauranga relationship, but we'll go back to Sir William Seal.
So, in terms of the branding, what is the brand that we want for New Zealand? do we want the brand 100% pure, clean and green? Is that the brand that we're wanting? Because if it is, the reporting regime that this bill provides for does not guarantee that we are going to strengthen, enhance and protect that branding. In fact, I'd sadly, sir, just surfing on the internet to see what the international arena would throw up in terms of our branding. The HBO had a clip on John Oliver, and there was a teaser there about Prime Minister, ponytails and wine. Now, I'm not going to get into that, but no. We need, sir, the branding of the 100% pure, clean and green is the branding that we should be collectively looking to protect and enhance. And the only way that that can be achieved, sir, is to ensure that the reporting on our environment is independent, it is scientifically robust, and that it is assessed, and the best practice that is used not only locally but on the international level should be adopted. It should not be that a minister of any government, whether it be them or us in 2017, ministers of any political persuasion should not have the unfettered power to be able to choose what topics are reported on and how they are reported on. Because what then can arise, sir, is that ministers may choose not to report on a topic because there is public opposition to it. Or ministers may choose not to report on the way our waterways are because they don't want to highlight the situation that it currently is. I couldn't help, sir, that earlier the member said about our waterways being protected and safe. I have to say, sir, there's a lake out in Otara. In the 70s, we used to go fishing in there. We used to swim in there. Today, you can no longer do that. Over the years, as a result of development and the runoffs, it is unsafe. There are signs there, do not swim, do not eat anything out of this lake. And so, if that occurred in the 70s, if in the 70s it was safe, and in the 2015 it's unsafe, should it not be the desire of this House, and certainly any government that has any sense, should it not be their desire to ensure that we return that lake to whence people were able to eat from it and swim in it and use it on a day-to-day basis? Because if that's the case, then, sir, this bill can't proceed, should not proceed. And any right-thinking, good, sensible government that has no arrogance whatsoever, sir, would know that this is what they've got to do. It's not about politics. It should be about doing the right thing for present and future generations. I note, sir, that in the departmental disclosure statement, that it says that it spoke to Te Puni Te Kokiri. There is a requirement when it comes to the environmental issues that Māori ought to be consulted. If memory serves me right, sir, and my Māori colleagues may want to correct, Māori, similar to many indigenous cultures, are well versed in terms of tradition and how they protect the environment, because it is embedded in many of the thinking of the elders that when we're using the land, the rivers, the air, etc., that we need to use it not only for the present generation, but leave something also for future generation. That's what should be our goal. That's what we should be aiming for. Unfortunately, sir, the way this bill is drafted, it is more about economics, and I want to read something which highlights this point. It is more about economics. And if that's the case, sir, it's not going to last very, very long. Here is from the Departmental Disclosure Statement. It reads, improved access to consistent, high-quality information on New Zealand's environmental performance is expected to assist business in marketing their products and services overseas. That seems to be the basis for why this government is prepared to allow a flawed bill to proceed, not about protecting our environment for present and future generations, but it is about promoting goods and services to international market. And I have to say, sir, that is not a principle that will allow future generations to enjoy the kind of environment that we've been fortunate to have.
Paul Foster-Bell.
Tēnā koe e te mana whakawā. Sir, just before I address the issue at hand, the Environmental Reporting Bill in the second reading,